Now, contrary to what some people may believe about me, I actually don't think there's anything wrong with being socially conscious. What some people pretend woke actually is. I don't believe there's a problem with being aware of what is taking place in your environment and having a desire to correct these things. But I do believe there's a problem with being too damn woke. And that's the place we find ourselves. When you look at what the quote unquote Democratic Party has become, what the so-called progressive movement stands for, what it is to be a liberal, that is too damn woke. When you have everything as a cause, everything is a conspiracy, everything is a system of inequity and injustice, everything. This cup is a white cup. This is an oppressive mug. Okay. This mug is a white mug. This is an oppressive mug. This keyboard has white keys. Those are oppressive keys. Why do the letters have to be black? Do you see that? The letters are the ones that are doing the work. They are the black. The keys are the ones that are at the foundation. They are the ones who are in control of the letter. They are white. This is the sort of nonsense I hear on a daily basis from these people. And so, I just thought to myself, let's go ahead and just tune into what it looks like to be too damn woke. It's just like, I don't know if it's Dave Chappelle or Chris Rock. Y'all gonna correct me on this one. But when keeping it real goes wrong, it's kind of like that, right? When you trying to keeping it, I'm just keeping it real. Yeah, you keeping it real stupid, keeping it real broke, keeping it real fired, keeping it real imprisoned. This is when going woke is too damn woke.
Ladies and gentlemen, today we stand united in the shadow.
I'm sorry, why do they always have this militant, almost robot? Is this NPC energy? Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you white.
Of a grievous history, for everything has been stolen from us. Ladies and gentlemen, today we stand united in the shadow of a grievous history, for everything has been stolen from us. Our gold, our jewelry, our cherished artifacts, our land, and the very essence of our culture. This loss is not merely material. It represents the erasure of our identity and heritage. We call for the return of what is rightfully ours, and we seek this restitution through peaceful means, for we believe in dialogue and understanding. However, let it be clear, if our plea for justice goes unanswered, we will be prepared to meet force with force to reclaim that which was taken from us.
Oh boy. Okay. I was really hoping she was just going to keep it light. But she's over here talking about some force for force. First of all, ma'am, that's an already lost battle. You know what I mean? That's you're outnumbered on that one. You're outarmed. I mean, if they literally stole all of your stuff, right? And I guess they are the powers that reside over your life. They control your every move. Then what the hell are you gonna do to them, right? Because that's what you claim. You claim that these people have stolen your land. They stole. By the way, this is real interesting to me. All these claims of like my stuff was stolen. How many of you, let me bring her up. How many of you, like people like you, ashwagandha, Wakanda sort of individuals, how many of y'all have actually had your personal land taken from you? Like land that you owned, stolen from you? How many of y'all have had your personal gold, jewelry, things of that nature? Now let me kind of bring the other component to this. How many of your things, personal items, were stolen by a white person or a quote unquote non-black person? Now let's do the same exercise on the other side. How much of your stuff, if you've ever had anything stolen from you, was stolen by somebody who looked more like you? I think y'all catch what I'm throwing, right? Because if we want to talk about reality, tangible, fixed reality, what you experience, because when we bring up slavery, again, it's a dark stain upon human history. Every single civilization has participated in this very dark, inhumane practice. But let's just take American slavery. How many people do you know who were slaves? Worked on the plantations as slaves? How many? How many of y'all out there are slaves currently? Because if you are, I am willing to actually put a bid in to get you your reparations. I'm willing to do that today. Actually, I will personally give. I mean, I don't have much to spread around, I guess, in the masses that they want, but I will give like a few dollars, maybe a $20 bill or something, like, to a multitude of y'all. And that will be y'all reparations. Me just doing my part as a fellow human citizen. But the reason I feel I won't have to do that is because none of y'all were actually slaves. Therefore, this thing of you stole my stuff, like, I've had, let's say, stuff taken from me. I've had family members whose cars are broken into, etc. And the craziest part about it is the perpetrators, more times than not, were somebody who looked exactly like us. Black, as some would say. So I don't know who you're going to be mad at. You're going to be pissed off at the person who actually stole your stuff, or this make-believe story about what you went through that you actually never went through, and you never knew anybody, maybe a great-grandparent to something of that nature, but you never had a first-hand account, first-hand experience of actually going through a situation where you had land taken from you. And that's just, again, maybe my logic is just too logicking right now. I think that might be the problem. Maybe I'm viewing this from the wrong perspective. Maybe I need to get out of my right mind and meet them at their level of insanity. Let's go ahead.
With the same vigor that was used in its theft, we demand respect for our rightful place in history, and we will not be silenced. Thank you.
Okay. One more time on this.
Artifacts, our land, and the very essence of our culture. This loss is not merely material. It represents the erasure of our identity and heritage. We call for the return of what is rightfully ours, and we seek this restitution through peaceful means, for we believe in dialogue and understanding. However, let it...
Something else that always just baffles me is the fact that almost every single one of these people are like, they're clothed in Western attire. Now, that necklace is, I believe it's Arabic or something like that. The Hamza is like the evil eye situation. So that's appropriation, man. So you might want to get rid of that, because you're appropriating brown people's culture. But it's always interesting to me how, she's filming this on a piece of technology that was created by the white supremacists, i.e. Western civilization. She is dressed in the garb of white supremacy. I'm almost certain that the car she used to drive to this location, also an invention of the white supremacists. So my point is this: why is it that they continue to use the very same infrastructure of the quote unquote white man, but then at the same time are trying to kind of distinguish themselves as completely separate from it? Because that's one thing that never misses me, is the fact that I'm well aware that I'm speaking English. I'm speaking the language of, a person who doesn't look like my quote unquote ancestors, or at least not all of them. There are some probably in there mixed together, because that's what we did before we were completely unhinged and this racist, obsessed with skin color. But, it doesn't miss me that, yeah, I'm speaking English. I'm dressed in what some would consider Western attire. I don't have like some sort of cowhide on me, or, loincloths or something like that the Khoisan people, who are some of my own forefathers, may have worn. That's complete. But The reason I also have assimilated or accept this is because I believe that the culture that is here, that is dominant, Western civilization, has been the better culture. I believe that the free market capitalist system has been an improvement upon what we've experienced times past. That this democratic republic that we experience is probably the best form of government we've seen thus far. That's why it's been working. People come to America by the hundreds of millions or try to break into this country or have the desire to do so because it works. Now, when we want to talk about stolen goods and things of that nature, I get where she's coming from. Yeah, there were colonizers. Okay, why is it that we never talk about the Arabs, the Spaniards? I mean, Spanish is one of the most spoken languages. Arabic is one of the most spoken languages. Second largest, if not the first largest religion in the world. It's Islam. Arabs, brown people. How do you think those customs, the language, how do you think that spread throughout the world? Did that happen through, I don't know, these were just indigenous? No, they took over the indigenous peoples, right? A place like Morocco, for example. How did Morocco go from the Berbers, from the Amazigh? How did they go from that to all of a sudden, completely losing the cultural fabric that once made them who they were? And instead now they are veiled in black, barely showing eyes. How did it get there? Colonizers. They were colonized, and in quite brutal ways, forced into these cultures. So if I have to choose between that modem of living and the Western way of living, I choose the Western. And I believe that you choose the exact same thing because you don't leave it behind. If you genuinely believed it, you would go back to the continent, you find somewhere as remote as possible, and you would start to practice every single one of the so-called practices of your ancestors. And you would find a plot of land that I guess, is unconquered because supposedly Africans, in the same way like Native Americans, just have no concept of ownership, right? We don't have this Western thing of like, we own the land. Okay, then fantastic. I hope you find some land that is unowned and you can settle there and you can really do your own thing. But as long as you don't do that, I simply don't believe you. This is just a too woke take. Appreciate you guys for tuning in. Now, if you'd like to stay around, make sure to click that little subscribe button down there, or you can show some love by going to the description below and clicking on the button titled Buy Me a Coffee. Leave a little something there, or click on the Cash App. Leave a little something here. Till the next time, peace.
I fell in love with the sunshine. I fell in love with the light. I fell in love with the full moon. I fell in love with the night. I can see the light again. I can see the light. You can see the life in him illuminate the night. I know the time is taking. A 365, that's a full rotation. I see you looking up, you know them constellations. Constantly gazing like house of praises, you get to praising.